Hello guys, welcome back to this series where we explore Cloudera data platform Public Cloud on Amazon Web Services. I'm Harsh Desai, Senior Big Data and Cloud Consultant at ClearPeaks. Today we will focus mainly on Cloudera DataFlow, which is a data service in CDP. It is powered by Apache NiFi and Kubernetes and is a cloud-native data distribution solution where users can connect to any data source, ingest and process the data, and distribute it downstream. The flows can also be version controlled and deployed from a central catalog to auto-scaling Kubernetes clusters. All right, let's dive straight in. First thing first, we need to enable the environment. So we'll go to the environment tab. Here you can see the AWS environment, which we will go ahead and enable. We'll provide a data flow capacity of minimum 3 nodes and maximum as 5. We will keep the other settings as default, except enabling the public endpoints, since we want access to the NiFi UI and deployment manager via internet. We will keep the rest default and enable the environment now. Enabling the environment takes about 50 minutes. So meanwhile, what we will do is we will check the NiFi flow on our Data Hub cluster, which we will then ultimately deploy here. For that, we will go to the Data Hub cluster and then onto the NiFi UI from there, where we will see the data flow that we have already ready from the previous exercise. We have made one slight change here where we interact directly with the cloud provider instead of the CDP components. So we use the put S3 object processor to store data directly onto the AWS S3 bucket in Parquet format. The idea is to create an external table on top of the S3 path and analyze it. As you can see, we have also added merge record processor to merge single flow files into a bigger flow file to avoid small file issues, and a convert record processor to convert flow files from JSON to Parquet. Remember also that the put S3 object will require either AWS credentials provider service or access key ID and secret key for AWS account that has access to the S3 bucket. You can get these details from the AWS IAM console. All right, so now that the flow is ready, it's time for step 2. Here we download the flow definition of the flow that we just created. It's quite simple, to be honest. We'll right click on the process group and download the flow definition. It will download a JSON file that we can then upload to CDF. This flow definition represents the data flow logic, which was developed in Apache NiFi. All right, we can now see that the environment has enabled and we have downloaded the flow definition. So we will now upload the flow definition to the flow catalog. The flow catalog is where we can browse, discover, and manage the flow definition versions. We can also deploy and reuse our flow definition across multiple environments. We click on import flow definition. We give this flow definition a unique name. So let's say crypto S3 ingest, and then select the JSON file that we have just downloaded. That's it. Now you've just imported the flow into a data flow catalog. Now it's time to deploy. So from the catalog, we select the flow and we click on deploy. It will ask us to select the environment in which we want to deploy the flow. We select the AWS environment and proceed. This will now open the deployment wizard. The first screen here is the overview screen where we provide the deployment a unique name for identification. And then the next screen is NiFi configuration. We select the NiFi runtime version where we want to deploy the flow in, and if we have created a different version, we can select it from here. We leave auto start behavior enabled as we want the flow to start immediately once the flow is deployed. We keep other information as default, and then we click on next. This screen is the parameter screen. DataFlow detects all the parameters defined in the parameter context and allows us to provide runtime values for these parameters. So this allows a great deal of flexibility in terms of deploying the same flow with different parameters in isolated environments. We need to provide the access key ID and the secret access key here. So let me just paste the access key ID and secret access key here. We will keep the rest of the parameters default, except the password and one we'll change is this is the location. So we'll just add the password. This is the API that we are going to call. Let me put in the password. And then we click on next. The screen is the sizing and scaling screen. So we select the t-shirt size that we want the cluster to be deployed in. We select the extra small one, and we also select auto scaling as enabled with minimum 1 and maximum 3 nodes. Next is the KPI screen. Now, this is one of the best features of DataFlow in public cloud. It is where we can create a KPI, which is key performance indicator, and then monitor the data flow in real time. Let's add two KPIs here. Let's say the first one where I want to track the total number of flow files queued throughout my flow and alert if it goes about 10 in the last 1 minute. So I'll put in 10 here and 1. Okay, we'll add this KPI. Let me create another KPI where we will track the CPU utilization of the data flow. I will skip creating the alert for this. All right, let's create. Those are my two KPIs for now, but you can see that there are various KPIs you can define and track. Next, we review the deployment and deploy this flow into production. Let's click on deploy. All right, so now this is going to deploy the flow. You can see that the flow is deployed and we can view it from this central dashboard. You can see that the data is flowing in and out of the flow. Let's run a query on the external table pointing to the S3 location where the flow is ingesting data to. So we will go to Cloudera Data Warehouse. Here you can see the Hive virtual warehouse that we have deployed previously. We will go to Data Analytics Studio and select Compose, where this is the order book external table where which is pointing to the S3 location where the data is being ingested. So let's just query this particular table and let's see if we are getting the Bitcoin information in this table. And there it is. We can see that the data is flowing for Bitcoin with the flow deployed in CDF. Now let's do one last touch where we will deploy the same flow, but for Matic as the new crypto symbol. So we'll go to the flow catalog here. We'll select the flow. We'll click on deploy. During the deployment, we will select all the other settings as is that we selected during the previous deployment. The only thing that we are going to change is the parameters. So let's give this unique name. Go to let's keep the configuration as is. This in the parameter screen. Let me put in the access key ID and the access key. And here is the access key. Let me scroll down and let's change this to Ether so that we can deploy Ethereum as the new symbol. Put in the password and click on next. This is the S3 information. We'll keep this as the same because we want the data to be flowing into the same location. The sizing and scaling, let's keep it the same. Let's skip creating any KPIs for now. Let's review and deploy. Okay, so now you can see that we deployed multiple flows for the same flow definition, where each deployed flow is isolated in terms of resources from the other, and they can be tracked separately. Let's query the external table to see the various crypto symbols that are ingested by DataFlow deployments. And let me query. Okay, there you go. We have multiple flows ingesting various crypto data on the same S3 location. You can go ahead and adapt the database dashboard that we created in the previous video to include this new information and analyze the real-time data as required. That's it. That's how simple it is. We have truly just touched the surface of a much more powerful tool by Cloudera and are confident of leveraging it to achieve universal data distribution implementation from edge to cloud in our further projects. Here at ClearPeaks, we believe our expert and certified Cloudera consultants can architect and deploy the right set of tools for a business to leverage. We hope you found the video useful. If you did, please hit the like button, share the video with the community, and subscribe to our channel for future content. Thank you and stay safe.